Broadcasting to you live from the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America. Hello, everybody. Thanks for being with us today. My name is Brian Engelman. This is Tuesday, September the 17th, 2024. This is the Agree to Disagree show on the New American Media because the old American media has failed you. We did have a guest lined up in the studio. Maybe we do have him now. Look at this. There he is.
Alrighty. Hello.
Look at that. Do you have a tripod or something to set it on so it could just be, you could settle in for a nice conversation?
I just put it on a tripod.
Awesome. Well, this guy over here is Blake Walley. You can find him at thenextlevelnews.com and go on X. He's at TV's Blake Walley. My name is Brian Engelman, the host of the show and the creator of the New American Media. Make sure you're following us on Rumble, the New American Media, on Spotify, the podcast, the Agree to Disagree show, on Truth Social, the New American Media, on X at American_media_, the New American Media page on Facebook, the New American Media on Instagram. Just find us in all the places, including Patreon. And just link up with us, Telegram, TNAM, and TNAM chat, TNAM for the New American Media. And down here, this is my uncle. His name is Bruce Engelman. He is a pastor. He is an author. He is a researcher of things. And we have done, unfortunately, too many shows as of late regarding the assassination attempts on one Donald Trump. So we're coming together to kind of front load our show today. We have several different topics. I think we're going to bring Bruce in for the first half of the show. We're going to stay very focused on the second or the fifth assassination attempt, depending on which numbers you're looking at. But after that segment, we're also going to ask about, or cover rather, Sean Diddy Combs. Agree or disagree that he's innocent and being unfairly targeted? Agree or disagree that Trump supporters should embrace Howard Stern's broadcasts? Yeah, okay, that's an interesting one. ABC News is covering up its complicity in the rigging of the debate. Maybe we'll get Bruce's opinion on this one. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is attempting to disenfranchise voters. Agree or disagree on that one? But yeah, I think, Blake, let's maybe start with you here. We've kind of put these. Oh, yeah, that might be a little tricky. There we go.
There we go.
Blake, this news came out over the weekend. Second assassination attempt of President Trump. Before we get into all of the specifics today, just general thoughts on how this story has been unfolding in general.
It's great to see the alternative media come in and do the job that the mainstream media should be or used to be doing. So we can't count on them for reliable information. So it's great to see people gather together and get all the info out because they try to cover up these things, especially like the social media history, if it's inconvenient to the regime. So good on them. We'll get into some of that. We have time. There's a lot of people that have been, connecting the dots and pulling up some of the information. It's damning interesting. And lots to cover on that one.
I thought one of the most interesting elements of the story, I saw the report that they heard someone yelling "4" at the golf course and, looking for an errant tee shot. It was just members of the Secret Service kind of placing bets in the clubhouse, wondering how many more assassination attempts there would be on President Trump. They were guessing 4, and they were just getting loud about it. Silly joke I came up with, but we'll work on that. Bruce, you as well. Thanks for joining us again. Refresh everybody about the book you wrote about the Kennedy assassination, and then just kind of reset for us. Kind of where were you this weekend when this came out, and just your overarching thoughts on this right now.
Yes, Brian, it's an honor to be on the show with you and Blake again. And you're right, we have done this far too many times here in the last 8 weeks. Well, before I get started, I want to say a couple of things. I just watched the live conference and rally that our vice president, hopefully, J.D. Vance, just did. And by the way, I'm the only guy in my circle of friends, conservatives, independents, libertarians, that picked Vance, and I picked him 3 years ago. I never wavered from that prediction. Everybody else said Rubio and this woman or that woman. I said, no, it's going to be J.D. Vance. and it is J.D. Vance. And it's starting to scare me, Brian and Blake, that, and I'm not a prophet nor the son of a prophet, but man, my predictions have come really, really through here lately. And in fact, I've only missed one. I thought sure she was going to pick Shapiro. However, he just did a remarkable job handling the press. He is the most eloquent, intelligent vice presidential candidate the Republicans ever had. He's brilliant. He's a genius. He's extremely articulate. He doesn't take any guff off the media. So
okay, let me pause right there as we kind of unpack the rest of this. You talk like I do. You take a lot of side streets. There's a lot of scenic stuff to take in, and I appreciate that. Who else is on your Mount Rushmore? If J.D. Vance is the best vice presidential candidate, who are the top three not named Vance? Because you are a political historian in ways that I am not. Who else is on the vice presidential Mount Rushmore?
Of all time?
All time.
Harry Truman. And keep Teddy Roosevelt there. He was the VP under McKinley until McKinley got assassinated. Speaking of assassinations. And I would put him and Truman, and I would put Richard Nixon, and I would put J.D. Vance. There's your four.
Excellent. Okay, so reset with your book, though. Tell people about the research you did with the JFK, because you're living down in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and you've had a passion for exposing presidential assassination attempts your entire life. So give us that background real quick.
I was going to say so much to talk about.
I know.
I'm considered an expert around the world on presidential security, not just assassinations and JFK and RFK, but presidential security in general. I've actually worked security for the vice president of Israel one time when I was over there. I'm an expert on security. What can I say? I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. Dizzy Dean said, if you can do it, it ain't bragging, quote unquote. So this is my niche. Presidential security, Secret Service history, assassination, and of course, conspiracy. Also, I've worked for ABC twice, so I know more about ABC than those two yo-yos that call that a debate. I started out with ABC Radio, and then I went with ABC Television. I did some work out in New York City. I worked 3.5 years with the ABC affiliate in Youngstown, Ohio. I went head-to-head with Peter Jennings years later, and got him almost thrown off the air. So I know ABC. Now, on the assassination, I wrote a best-selling book called Eternal Flame, and I'm still in demand as a lecturer. I just spoke at the Kiwanis Club in Brownwood, Texas, on the assassinations of Kennedy and Trump, attempt on Trump, thankfully. And so that's a brief rundown of my resume.
And this weekend then, when the news came in, like, where did your thoughts first go to? As we started unpacking, what do we know, and what's true, what's untrue, what's half true. To quote Ronnie Reagan, here we go again. And the first time I was up with one of my research partners on the assassination up in Michigan when we heard the news. Our wives and I and he were vacationing together up in Michigan, heard the news about Butler, and I'm from the Butler, PA area, went to high school on one side of Butler, college on the other side of Butler. I've been by that scene 1,000 times. A little hyperbole there, but not much. And this last time, I was like, oh, here we go again. And I got a couple calls, and I put the TV on, and of course, let me just tell your viewers and listeners right out of the chute, pun intended. Whenever there's an assassination tape, an attempt in the United States, to quote the great Mark Lane, who was the first attorney to investigate the Kennedy assassination, they always have a patsy set up. Now, there's three types of patsies, okay? There's a patsy like Oswald, who didn't shoot Kennedy and got the blame for it. He was actually trying to stop it. He was arrested while he was eating his lunch. He never fired a shot, okay? That's patsy number one, an innocent person. And there were others that were set up, and if you want to go into it, I can go into it. Number two, the second patsy is a Manchurian candidate who's been brainwashed, a la North Korea. Watch the Frank Sinatra movie. Ironically, it was President Kennedy's favorite movie. He watched it over and over again
in the theater at the White House. And that's where they brainwash somebody. That's a Sirhan. They don't know what they're doing, okay? But they maybe do pull a trigger, like crooks. And then the third type is a guy that's actually a part of a massive conspiracy network. And we're still not sure about these two guys. Your friend Jack Posobiec is looking at the possibility of a connection between these two dudes in Butler and Florida. He's hired a private detective agency to look into that.
Well, let's go ahead and start there. Maybe Blake, let's maybe pull up the first topic of the day. Agree or disagree that assassin Ryan Routh was likely given inside information? Blake, what say you?
Yeah, it seems like that is a very good possibility. Let's see if I can find the particular article I got that from. There's a few of them saying like it was kind of strategically placed at this golf course. He was hiding in the bushes for like 12 hours.
12 hours, half a day.
Right. So well before they even scheduled or had any plans to go there, as far as they know. So maybe either somebody leaked the information either from the golf course, or perhaps some people are speculating that the DHS and the FBI could be colluding to work, to take out Trump somehow. And it's the Secret Service, or at least some of the good people within the Secret Service, that are protecting him.
Yeah, that just sounds terrifying, but it sounds obvious. Bruce, what say you on this component of the story?
Great question. I think, first of all, Mr. Rowe needs to go. The deputy director of the Secret Service who took over for cheaters, I call her cheaters. And I am sick and tired of him going on TV and saying, well, we didn't know the president was going to play golf. They know when the president plays golf almost every morning when he's at Mar-a-Lago or at the international course, okay? He might stop at Dunkin' Donut and get a cup of coffee on the way to the links, but he golfs every morning. And, well, we didn't have time to set up a perimeter around the golf course. Plus, we don't do that because he's not the president anymore. I am sick and tired of this garbage from Rowe and the FBI director. They both need to go, and go now. And I hope and pray if they don't kill Trump, the first thing he needs to do when he gets in there is get rid of Mayorkas, who's in charge of Homeland Security, and get rid of the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, who's in charge of the Secret Service, and then the director of the FBI needs to go, and then this Rowe character. And we can't afford it. We don't have enough resources. We're sending $5 billion a month to Ukraine, and we can't afford a few $1 million to increase the. Hey, I am calling for a double perimeter. He needs double security. He needs two details, one because he's the former president and one because he's a presidential candidate. But this is an administration that wouldn't give Robert Kennedy Jr. any protection.
Yeah, and then to kind of put a message out there, Joe Biden did, calling for peace and that this is not acceptable. It's like, you have presented all of the proper conditions to make this not only possible, but inevitable. Yes, you're right. Former presidents always have proper security protocol around them, and current leading presidential candidates projected to win in a landslide, you obviously protect those people. The fact that the current administration could ever be in charge of what their political opponent gets as far as protection, that's something that needs to stop. That's something that needs to have some sort of almost how the Supreme Court gets a lifetime appointment so that you're not victim to the whims of the current political climate. Anybody observing the situation would have given Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Proper security detail during this, especially given his family history. Somebody who wasn't attached to the Democrat Party if they were in charge of Secret Service, of course they would have double protection. One, because he is a former president, one, because he's the leading contender to take over in about a month and a half. Blake, what do we have here with this weirdo that allegedly was hanging out for 12 hours in the bushes with an AK-47? What do we know?
Just saying that the news of the failed second assassination attempt, saying the former FBI assistant director believes that Ryan Routh was notified about the whereabouts A lot of unanswered questions. And it says, if you're thinking outside the four corners here, there could be somebody at that club, either Mar-a-Lago Golf Club, somebody that doesn't like him and has different political views. Maybe they fed him this information. That's what they told the Daily Mail in an interview. Gave the outlet a few possible scenarios, how Tim Routh or Ruth would have known Trump would have been at the golf course, including someone at the course giving away details on purpose or unknowingly. It also could have been this guy was studying his movements. But yeah, that's pretty motivated when you're going to be sitting out around this area for 12 hours and in the bush. So yeah, it does appear, at least from some of these people's opinions, that this could have been an inside job and orchestrated.
Let me take that and take the question from Josh Whelan here. Josh, thanks for joining. Leave your questions in the comments section. Hit like and subscribe. Of course, Bruce, let's ask Josh's question for you. Why do you think they want to kill him? They don't want to get fired? LOL. Like where is this coming from? Why is this a different election than, say, a Romney versus Obama or a McCain versus Obama or a Bush versus Gore? What is making this so different?
The difference is they're after you and me. The FBI just went to one of the directors of the Libertarian Party in New Hampshire without a warrant, wouldn't identify themselves. You can go on and watch it. And now they're not sending FBI people to prospective assassins of President Trump. Trump is the last stopgap in the deep state, the smoke-filled rooms, the underworld, whatever nefarious term you want to use for this bunch of establishment, corrupt, and I mean corrupt and evil to the core. He's the last roadblock. They've got to eliminate him. And you can watch the montages on all the conservative news networks and cable channels of all the political leaders and journalists, so-called, who have called for we need to put a bullet in his head. And I'm serious. I mean, right now, we need to put a target on Trump's back. We need to do whatever it takes because he's Hitler. And I'm sick of it. You don't hear this kind of rhetoric out of the Republicans. I haven't seen any shots, thank God. I told the Kiwanis Club when I spoke to him last week, I don't want any presidential candidate to get assassinated because we have never recovered from JFK in 63. If Trump had gotten killed in Butler, we never would have recovered from it. And both sides will be hurt by it. But these Democrats are evil. That's why Robert F. Kennedy's coming over, Jr. is coming over to our side. That's why the top two law professors at Harvard are coming over to our side. That is why Tulsi Gabbard is coming over to our side. That is why Musk is coming over to our side, because the original Democratic Party that stood for the middle class, strong defense, tax cuts, that's long gone. This is a party of communists, radicals, socialists, Marxists, and so-called progressives from California, and they are the deepest part of the deep state. And if they can eliminate Trump and get Kamala Harris in there, Obama will have his third or fourth term.
Fourth term for sure. Blake, chime in on that, being a former Democrat yourself, just the differences in the party as it used to be and why there have been so many former Democrats, disaffected Democrats who have jumped over to this side.
Yeah, it's a completely different party than it was 20 years ago when we were, as a liberal fighting against the establishment, and then it was, it was Bush, Cheney, and the neocons. But now they have partnered up and somehow they're arch rivals. Now they're embracing Dick Cheney as like a big endorsement, and his daughter for targeting Trump. So now they've switched it all on the Patriots. So battle lines have never been clearer. And a lot of people are like me, former Democrats, liberals, that whether it's like a Tim Pool or Elon Musk or Tulsi Gabbard, Glenn Greenwald, there's Jimmy Dore, there's so many, Russell Brand. There's so many that are former Democrats, liberals that are now coming to the Trump side, because it's us against them. The battle, it's never been clearer. Especially, if you get the far left radicals, they have turned into teaming up with the neocons against America Patriots. That's a pretty big deal. So
Blake, also you pulled this video up. Maybe rewind this. Bruce, is this
what Bruce was talking about earlier about the FBI in New Hampshire?
Is this New Hampshire? Someone else said it was outside of Springfield because they were posting about Springfield. Am I misunderstanding?
It was New Hampshire.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he was talking about Springfield, but this was in New Hampshire, and they came over to us. It's about social media posts, and they wouldn't identify themselves.
Right.
It was embarrassing.
Let's play this one so we can just kind of understand the knock we might get at the door someday and what our rights
are. How can I help you?
Okay, here we go.
Protect ourselves. Could you full screen that, Blake?
Hey there, are you Jeremy?
Yeah.
How are you?
Who are you?
I'm Agent O'Donnell with the FBI.
Can you give your full name, please?
They're not dressed like G-men, are they?
Is that sufficient to identify as the only one O'Donnell affiliated with the FBI?
In New Hampshire, yes.
Could you please state your full name, sir?
Could you please stop recording?
No. It's First Amendment right.
Okay.
What's your name, sir?
Could you stop recording, please?
Absolutely not. You can show me your name and identification, or I'm going to go back inside my house.
Oh, wait, pause it.
I don't really want to broadcast.
How weird and creepy are the vibes that these people are giving off right off the bat? Bruce.
Demonic, satanic, and eerie.
Blake, what kind of vibes you getting off these guys?
Yeah, that's a fair assessment, but maybe some of it is just shame that this is what they're doing. Maybe they didn't want to do this, but they're just following their orders.
Yeah. And he hits them on the shame thing at the end of this.
Yeah, go ahead. Keep it going, Blake.
Oh, this is going out right after you guys walk away.
So that's why I'm not going to.
So you can show me your name and ID. You can walk away.
We just want to talk to you.
I'm not going to talk to people who claim to be federal agents unless they can show me identification.
Okay, well, you see our badges?
I need to see. Is your full name on that badge?
No.
I'd like to see something with your full name, or I'm not going to talk to
I
you.
prefer you not to broadcast it.
This will be going online as soon as you walk away.
As soon as you walk away.
All I want to do is talk to you about a post that was made, and if you happen to be the one that made the post.
I want to talk to
So it's all about a post they had made.
you about you guys coming here. Say you make a salary of, I don't know what, low 100K? You guys making six figures? Factor in 50% expenses, overhead, maybe 100% expenses. Talking about burning a couple $100 an hour just here, let alone all the time you guys are spending to investigate something that you know is not against the law, right? Like you're familiar with. So then why would you come?
Because we wanted to make sure that there weren't any.
No, you're coming because you're part of a regime that does this kind of thing when you know laws aren't being broken, and that's an embarrassment, man. Didn't you guys read the Constitution? Do you not believe in America? Like, how do you do your jobs and go home?
We appreciate it.
You're walking away because nothing we did is against the law. And you guys are fuckheads that try to act like bullies. And I hope you go home and are embarrassed. You can't even say your name on camera because you know that what you're doing is embarrassing. You know Americans that believe in the Constitution think you're laughable. And you go home and you think about what you did today. Go home and think about it, you cowards.
I love this guy.
You go home and you think about what you did. Bruce?
I love this guy. When I said demonic and satanic, Blake and Brian, I don't necessarily mean these two individuals. I'm telling the atmosphere coming up that's those steps to that guy's condo or frontage house or row house. You could feel this demonic and satanic vibes. I am pro law enforcement. I work with 2 police agencies. I've been through the police academy in Fort Worth. Those Secret Service agents, 99% of them put their life on the line. These G-men probably have families. I'm telling you, though, none of that mattered during the Nuremberg trials. Well, I just followed orders. It's time these G-men and Secret Service men start speaking up in mass. So when I said satanic and demonic, let me clarify the atmosphere, not necessarily those 2 dudes. And they were embarrassed and ashamed.
Kenneth saying he's fed up. The Fed's coming by. Fed up. Blake, I mean, this was a bit of a masterclass on how you're supposed to handle yourself when you're being intimidated, right?
Yeah, no, he did a terrific job, and now he's giving everybody the blueprint in case that happens to you, because there's going to be a lot more of this, and they're already getting ready for that. They're pulling it off in other countries. England, of course, very notorious, and it's coming here, so be prepared.
All right,
Brian and Blake, may I just insert one comment here?
Yeah.
I went online and I checked to see what the New Hampshire TV stations were saying. And apparently he said, to quote him, he said, I do put some spicy, quote unquote, spicy things on the internet. And in England, if you just even think something negative, they'll come and arrest you and put you in jail for 5 years right now. In London, where I'm planning to live 5 months out of the year for a purpose. But anyway, this guy did say some pretty tough things about Kamala. But why can everybody get away on the left calling Trump Hitler, the biggest threat to democracy? The FBI never shows up at their homes. If you're a Democrat, you can say anything you want, as inflammatory as you want, anytime you want. We can even spawn 2 assassination attempts, but it's Trump's fault. It's J.D. Vance for talking about dogs and cats, and Trump calling dogs and cats a problem in Springfield. I preached there twice, in Springfield, Ohio. They did the same thing with Kennedy. There's a new video out that compares JFK, RFK, Trump, and RFK Jr., and it is remarkable. It just came out last night. See, the Democrats back then were like the conservative Republicans today. You know what the Secret Service did? They blamed Kennedy for the assassination after it happened, November 22nd, 1963. They said because he wanted to press the flesh and he didn't want the bubble top over the car, and he would have them stop and shake hands with kids with signs. So it's his fault because he lowered our security ring. Bull. Any more than it's Trump's fault. Now they want him to tone down his speech? Hello. It's ridiculous. It's absurd.
It gets very dangerously close to blaming the woman for the attack because she was dressed too provocatively.
Perfect analogy, Brian. Perfect analogy. Thank you.
I don't like blaming innocent people for the actions of a madman, maybe spurned on by the ramblings of the lunatics who are part of the propaganda machine, the parroting propaganda machine. The Smith-Mundt Act, when Obama rewrote that law so that U.S. propaganda could go through NBC, through CNN. Our country has been more divided than ever because they're just using it as another arm of the Democrat Party to push the globalist agenda. And that includes a lot of the rhinos, the Cheneys, the Romneys, the McCains, the old guard Republican Party. Republicans had their internal civil war and they chose MAGA. It wasn't even close. They chose MAGA. So the disaffected Republicans are part of the deep state, 2 wings of the same dirty bird system now. And it's all just rearing its ugly head. It's all bubbling to a boiling point right now. Can I say
something? May I say something? I want to thank you. This is not nepotism because you're my favorite nephew and godson and the greatest football player in the history of Brunswick High.
All right. Stop.
Yeah, flattery does get me everywhere. It gets me in anywhere. But no, in all seriousness, all candor, I want to thank you and Blake for what you're doing, because this is bigger than you realize. And you guys have the guts and the courage to put your lives on the line and call the attention of the American people to these issues. All of a sudden, Darth Vader and Hitler too, i.e. Dick Cheney, is lauded by communist Kamala in the debate. We have Dick Cheney on your file. Well, it is 2 weeks ago you were calling him Darth Vader. Cut me a break.
I know. It's something else. Okay, let's talk about, move away from the Darth Vader component, and we'll get to the Ronnie D, the little Ronnie D component. I was very disappointed by Ronnie D, what he did during the primaries on the Republican side, so be it. But now things have kind of settled back down, and Ronnie's doing some interesting stuff with this potential shooter, and I think we should focus on that now. All right, we'll start with you, Blake. Agree or disagree that the shooter, Routh, I don't even like saying the shooter's names. I really dislike saying shooters' names. But anyway, that the shooter, agree or disagree, Blake, should be handed over to the feds ASAP. Give him to the feds ASAP. Agree or disagree?
Absolutely not. Disagree. So I'm getting conflicting reports on this because the word I think I'm hearing is that they already have given him to the FBI, but then I'm hearing from DeSantis that they said they were going to try to keep him in state as well, because I trust the state investigators far more than I trust the feds these days.
Oh, come on.
They're no longer the good guys anymore.
No.
Let me see if I can pull up the...
Let me ask Bruce real quick before, as Blake finds that story. How long has it been since the feds have actually been the good guys? I'm having a hard time thinking back to when that was, instead of people set out to target and ruin the lives of Americans.
Late 50s, very, very early 60s. And this is what happened in Dallas. They allowed the feds to come in, take out the president's body, and it was altered surgically. I promise you, JFK's body was altered surgically somewhere between Parkland Hospital here in Dallas and Bethesda Naval Hospital, because I've interviewed the people that operated on him, and the body that came in was not the body that left, wasn't the same casket, etc. And they stormed past the coroner and DA of Dallas County, the Secret Servicemen and FBI guys, and since then we have never gotten the truth. Keep it in Florida. I would trust. I used to work law enforcement. I used to patrol at several police departments. In fact, the sheriff of one of the biggest counties, Lee County, wanted me to become their chaplain right before I moved back to Texas, so I had to turn him down. And his brother's been the governor and the senator. A good family down there. But I would much rather trust the Floridian authorities over these. And then on top of this, the people that would investigate this are the ones, and I forget the dude's name, but he was just given a higher position to take care of possible election fraud on November 5th. He would be in charge of the investigation of the Mar-a-Lago attempt. I wouldn't trust that guy as far as I could throw him. No, keep it in Florida as long as you can. And I plaudits to Governor DeSantis for standing up to these crooked feds.
Yeah, Kenneth asking, will Ruth tell the truth? Well, we'll find out if we keep him in Florida. You don't want to Epstein him and erase him. Feds, no thank you. And I'm wondering, Josh saying, dude, America is looking bleak. I know it is looking bleak, but this is the Black Channel. We can express our frustrations, but while we have breath in our lungs, we're gonna fight. We're gonna fight. We're gonna try to make this country better than it was yesterday. I don't know where I was going with that. Blake,
may I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Of all people, Senator Blumenthal from Connecticut, not a Trump fan by any stretch of the imagination, and a liberal Dem, he says there's a lot to the Butler shooting that we're not being told. The government's trying to hide it. This is Blumenthal. The government's trying to hide it. There's a major cover-up in the process, and it's time for the U.S. Senate and Congress to open it wide open and start giving the public the facts now. Because I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a lone nut gunman. That's the fourth example. I didn't even go there. Some real kook, although there are copycats. It's always a patsy. And
look, let's think about the game of golf. That's where Trump was playing, right? He was out on a golf course, okay?
And he's upset that he didn't finish the game because he said it was the best game of his life.
Like the guy in Caddyshack, shaking the club up at God, and then he gets the lightning bolt.
Yeah.
But look, golf is a one-on-one sport. It's one person versus another person. But let's face it, there's always a caddy. You know, lone nuts. Oh, there's always more than one involved. You don't know to go hide out for 12 hours if somebody doesn't give you a phone call. Like, how would you know to do that unless you just moved in and you lived there? But if they couldn't catch him beforehand, how do we so easily know that he's been there for 12 hours now? I don't know, but these are all questions that America needs to get to the bottom of. Blake, play this clip from Ron DeSantis. He's asked about the investigation, and this is the Ron DeSantis I forgot that I still liked. The guy that'll come on and do stuff like this and say stuff like this. He's very needed in 2024 moving forward. He's one of the few people that seems competent at their job. Let's let this play.
Competent and confident enough to call out the jackals in the media. Here we go.
Have you talked to President Trump since yesterday's assassination attempt? And if so,
Have you talked to Trump? And what do you think?
I have not talked to him yet. I did announce yesterday we're going to be doing a state-level investigation. I understand that the feds are involved, but we do believe that there were multiple violations of state law. We also believe that there's a need to make sure that the truth about all this comes out in a way, that's credible. I mean, I look at the federal government with all due respect to them. Those same agencies that are prosecuting Trump in that jurisdiction are now going to be investigating this. I just think that may not be the best thing for this country.
Yeah, there's some great points there. So, yes, if it all goes to the feds, they're going to just bury everything and run out the clock if they can, assuming Trump, we'll see if Trump can get back into office and investigate these people. Otherwise, they plan on holding their power and keeping all their secrets buried.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I remembered the point I was going to make a second ago was maybe this is giving me a little bit of hope. I've been calling for a while. I'm trying to figure out exactly when the sentencing for Donald Trump will be. I thought it was coming up this week or next. Did that get pushed back again to after the election? I'm not entirely certain how this is.
I believe it did.
I think I must have missed that, because if there's any chance that the same deep state that's setting him up multiple times through Department of Homeland Security, Secret Service, where everybody's a suspect at this point. There are 2 assassination attempts in as many months. Everybody's a suspect. We're playing a board game of Clue, and everyone is a potentiality at this point. The point I've been making for months would be that I would love to see Ron DeSantis come out and say, look, resident Trump is facing lawfare right now. He's being politically persecuted. So resident Trump will be protected here at Mar-a-Lago, surrounded by the National Guard, and there's nobody from New York that's going to kidnap him for political persecution in the middle of a race. It's not happening. Come through Florida, Molin Labe. It's not happening. We're protecting our resident Donald Trump from political persecution from another one of our 50 states. And look, if he's now saying, I'm not going to give this guy up to the feds, look, that's just one tiny little step away from saying, I'm not giving up Trump to the feds. It's not happening. Or I'm not giving up Trump to New York. You're not doing it. You're not going to Epstein this guy. Oh, the cameras went off. Oh, there was a glitch. Oh, I don't know how the poison got in there. I don't know what happened to this. Like, there's no limit to what they will do at this point. So I view this DeSantis thing as being very positive, because it might open the door to him protecting Trump a little further. Blake, finish this clip, and then I'll toss it to Bruce for his thoughts.
Their prerogative, but we have our prerogative, and so we'll be making an announcement further along those lines in the ensuing days.
That's it.
Okay, so that was the end of it. Bruce, thoughts on DeSantis saying? I guess in this clip, he's not saying that he's refusing to turn over the suspect to the feds, but he is saying they're doing their own parallel investigation. What do you say about that, Bruce? Does it take a special kind of governor to stand up to the feds that way? Just like that gentleman who filmed the 2 guys walking up to him about a social media post. You got to stand up to him.
Absolutely. I lost a lot of respect. I was living in Florida when Jeb Bush allowed them to pull the plug on Terry Schiavo. For your listeners and viewers that know that case, I won't go there because it's an ancient case, but Jeb didn't stand up that way. And very few governors would have the guts to do that, the kahunas. But I'll tell you what, DeSantis does. And that's what he should do. Now, that would be a brazen and brave step. And I always liked DeSantis. I was very disappointed. He broke his promise and ran against the president and said some unkind things about the president. But I think he's one of the shining stars, along with J.D. Vance, in the party. Somebody's got to carry on the MAGA movement. I don't think DeSantis will ever become president, though, because a little side note, a little footnote. I don't think Ron will ever become president for 2 reasons. Number one, because he did run against Trump. But more importantly, to quote one of my Democratic friends, I have a lot of sources in the Democratic Party, higher ups, and they said he's dour. You know, Reagan and Trump are always cracking jokes. And Ron needs to lighten up a little bit.
Yeah, but I think Trump made the joke about Ron DeSantis needing a personality transplant.
Yeah.
But Trump's always good for a couple lines here. By the way, let me just clear something up. readers are adding context saying DeSantis is initiating a separate state investigation as the FBI is conducting theirs. And by the way, God bless Elon Musk adding these community notes so that we can try to be up to date on how these stories are, kind of crowd voting, thumbs up or thumbs down. They say following Routh's arrest, the FBI took him into custody, and then currently the Department of Justice is seeking an indictment for additional charges from a grand jury. Also here saying the Martin County Sheriff confirmed that Routh was arrested by deputies, then turned over to the feds. He is currently being housed in Palm Beach County Jail. DeSantis said he'll have his own investigation, not that it will interfere with the FBI. So there's some important context there. You're hearing a lot of misreporting, but anyway, go ahead. Back to you, Bruce.
Yeah, what happened with the Kennedy assassination, Brian and Blake, is they demanded that the Dallas Police Department and the Dallas County Sheriff's Department send all of their investigative material and all their research a few months after the assassination to the FBI headquarters in Washington. Well, we know now that J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI agents in charge of Dallas at that time had some influence and maybe even some collusion in the assassination itself. In fact, Agent Hosty burned a note that Oswald had brought him, probably warning him, hey, they're going to assassinate the president. And so as soon as he heard about it, he didn't even go out to watch the motorcade. He's eating lunch in a cafe as the parade's going by. He burned that. And so Hoover and Johnson said, send all of your material. So it's going to take a real tough governor to say to Comey's successor, no, Mr. Ray, you can't have these documents yet. You can't have these recorded interviews yet. We're still conducting our investigation. And I think if there's one governor in the 50 states that could do that, other than our governor here in Texas, he's got guts too. It would be Ron DeSantis.
Gotcha. All right. Blake, maybe we'll pivot off of that one and go over to the collusion against Trump. Once again, hit like and subscribe however you're watching the Agree to Disagree show. Follow Blake at TV's Blake Walley and follow the New American Media at American_media_. Okay, next topic. All right, agree or disagree, Blake. The DHS, the FBI, the State Department, they're all colluding on Trump. What say you? Agree or disagree?
I'll say agree. I think there's enough to it to be suspicious. I don't like Ray or Mayorkas is awful, so I'm going to assume it's true unless I see otherwise. This is basically specifically off a post from Health Ranger Mike Adams, saying that a source tells him that the leak of Trump's whereabouts is coming from Homeland Security, not I guess that's Secret Service. So Homeland Security is leaking location details to the FBI, and the FBI is running the assassins. The entire top leadership of the FBI desperately trying to figure out how to eliminate Trump, while the loyal elements of the Secret Service are trying to stop it. Homeland Security and U.S. State Department are full-on criminal ops at this point, and if Homeland can't eliminate Trump soon, State Department will make sure a war begins with Russia. If they fail, hundreds of top people within the FBI and Homeland Security are either going to flee the country or be criminally prosecuted under Trump. This is what's at stake. So I don't know if he's got his sources, but I believe Mike Adams. I think he's a good guy, and he does have a ton of sources. So I'm going to say this is probably true.
Bruce, what do you make of this? Where could the... Number one, do you feel as though it's obvious that there is a mole inside of the Trump team? Does it feel obvious at this point? The second assassination in as many second assassination attempt in as many months.
There is a mole, Brian, in every department in Washington, D.C. And that's why President Trump, and by the way, we need to quit saying Trump. Let's not fall into the left's hands. It's President Trump. I don't even say former president or ex-president. It's President Trump. President Trump's going to have to go there and with the biggest broom and just clean house from top to bottom, because there are so many low-lying bureaucrats that are left over from the Obama administration. I am sure there are moles and leakers in every department, especially Homeland Security and the Department of Justice, DOJ. They knew this guy was over in Ukraine trying to recruit people over there. And the ATF, the FBI actually, believe it or not, alerted Homeland Security. And Homeland Security said it's no big deal, this Routh guy. So, you know, it's always a question when you study assassination, Blake and Brian, is it intentional, or is it coincidental, or is it just the nature of the beast? Is there malice aforethought?
And by the way, on that point, Bruce, none of those, if it's a video game and like a role-playing game, you have different levels. Here's your strength, here's your agility, here's your magic power. All those things you listed, none of those are at 0%. They are all in the mix. Like if you're baking a cake, 10% this, 10%, like not, they are all viable potentialities. Everything you listed, they're all baked into the cake. It's all mixed in there. There is no real separating it out because every one of those components is possible. You're right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, no, you're spot on. The Kennedy assassination was originally planned for Chicago with 3 snipers with Mounted Carcanos, and the first black agent, I got to meet him one time at a banquet. The first black agent appointed by President Kennedy, ironically, blew the whistle. And so they canceled that motorcade, and his reward was the director of the Secret Service fired him. And he has a book out, came out. So then they moved it to Miami. Oh, by the way, they had a patsy set up in Chicago. So then they moved it to they moved it to Orlando, I believe. And they had a patsy plan there. There's a whole book about 1,000 pages written about that assassination attempt. That was foiled. 3 Mounted Carcanos, a patsy. Then they moved it to Miami. And the Miami, it's as good as the Fort Worth intelligence. We have the best intelligence unit on a local level for Fort Worth PD in the United States. It's probably better than the FBI. In fact, they use our truck at the Super Bowl with the FBI, Secret Service, and Homeland Security, the Fort Worth intelligence unit. But the intelligence unit of the Miami Police Department in 62-63 was bugging the apartment and phones of a Joseph Miltier, who was a little bit of a terrorist of sorts. And they sent their stool pigeon in there, and they have him on tape going, we're going to knock him off in Miami or in Dallas because they just canceled the parade here in Miami. They got wind of it through Joseph Miltier, and they were going to do the motorcade in Miami. And they had 3 Mounted Carcano snipers and a stool pigeon set up there. And so he says, so you're moving it to Dallas, Joe? And Willie Somerset and Joseph Miltier says, yeah, we're moving it to Dallas. It's going to happen this time. Well, how are you going to do it, Joe? This is all on Miami police recordings. How are you going to do it, Joe, in Dallas? We couldn't do it in Chicago and Orlando and Miami. Well, Johnson's from Dallas and everybody's from Dallas. Everybody's from Texas. So we're going to move it to Dallas. Well, how are you going to do it? Well, we're going to have a sniper from an office building or a tall building. And we already got the patsy picked out. And he says, what are you going to do? He goes, I'm going, I'll be there. So Joseph Miltier goes to Dallas. He is photographed in Dealey Plaza. You can see him standing near a highway sign. And he comes back after the assassination. And again, it's being recorded by the Miami Police Intelligence Unit. And he says, boy, it came off just like you predicted, Joe, Willie Somerset, the informant. He goes, well, I told you. And we got that stupid Patsy Oswald to take the rap. This is what they do with conspiracy. So when there's an attack against the president, 99.9% of the time, we don't want to come across looking like a banana republic. So we blame it on some one lone nut assassin or potential assassin or suspect. But usually it's a vast network. And of course, it has inlets into the deep state. They used to say, well, the mafia couldn't have pulled off the assassination of Kennedy. They don't have higher ups. Oh, let me tell you something about the FBI. They put a mobbed up FBI director in charge of the Youngstown office back in the 70s, 80s when I was an investigative reporter for ABC. Oh, let me tell you, the mafia goes a lot higher than even the most informed person would ever believe. And of course, they colluded with the CIA because they were working together to whack off Castro in Operation Mongoose. So the machinery was already there, but they just took their guns off Castro because they couldn't get them, and they aimed them at JFK, and it was a CIA mob hit all the way to the top of the higher echelons of government. And this is the way they work.
Yeah. The collusion continues. The same stuff we've seen. This kind of keeps going on, Blake, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's sad to see. You know, the FBI was supposed to do something about the mafia, but then they kind of just embedded and sort of had entwined themselves. And it's good. Yeah, the lines are kind of blurred between the good guys and the bad guys. Not even that, you know, some of the mafia guys have probably better principles than some of the gangsters that are running our country. So,
amen, Blake. Amen.
Honor among thieves. All right. Anything else on this topic, Blake?
Not necessarily. It's just, you know, there's a lot of other elements just with this, you know, Ukrainian connection, how he had written books and how.
Well, yeah, dig down on the Ukrainian thing. I had something pulled up as well about just trying to make sense. Just the Jesse Waters video here. It's at American_media_ on X. He's just saying, how did the Trump would-be assassin, a convicted felon with no money, fly from Hawaii to Ukraine, talk to non-governmental organizations, these damn NGOs, I'm telling you, talk to NGOs, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and Afghan mercenaries? Did the U.S. government not think this was suspicious? American intel knows exactly which Americans are coming in and out of Ukraine. An intel officer in Ukraine even flagged Routh to the State Department, so we know that they and the FBI had him on their radar. So how did he get away with this, Blake?
No, that's a good question. It just seems that's why we don't want them getting sent to the feds, because then they're going to bury all these stories and all these connections. Where if we could have kept him in Florida with some good, you know, people, they could have done a much better job with this and been transparent and had all the info out as soon as we can get it. But as we've seen, like with the last assassination attempt on Trump, that they have no intention of bringing this information out. They've stonewalled, and yeah, great that Bruce brought it up. Even Richard Blumenthal was alarmed by this stuff and disturbed. It could happen to any of us. So we've seen that way too much corruption in the government here. And yeah, another person who's not for a BlackRock commercial, but was spotted in another Ukrainian propaganda. But yeah, so just run through real quick. Max Blumenthal, he was just saying that Ryan Routh published a 291-page book, The Unwinnable War, about how we wanted to see Putin assassinated. But yes, it was all his connections to Ukraine. I have a Free Press article from a lady, kind of a little remorse here. Why did journalists like me take Ryan Routh seriously? Because he was the right kind of crazy. Let's see. There's another compilation video.
Do you have a screen that you're sharing, or you just?
My bad. Yeah, I forgot to flip over to this one. This is out of the Free Press from this person who's from Russia. But yeah, that they were eager to take the bait. Ryan Routh is, one of the good guys, or at least on their side, because they're all in favor of this Ukrainian or defending Ukraine against the Russian invasion. Here is another. This is a compilation video from Robbie Starbuck. Different journalists, different outlets. I don't know if it's running for me. I think I'm having technical difficulties, but showing that he was known to many people.
Is he apparently
talking about
we went to Ukraine about
he had
supporting
warning signs, and he was very prominent, trying to recruit people to go fight for Ukraine, including from Afghanistan. Got Kyle Becker here saying the Trump shooting suspect was in a kind of a globalist style commercial. We had Thomas Crooks, of course, was in that BlackRock commercial inexplicably. And then we have
post of
Rock,
the
here we
action
go.
is to appeal to what leaders.
I don't know if I can, but there he is. There's the shooter from the second one. He's in a pro-propaganda video. Here's like this one, Brian. So Simpsons reference here. Ryan Routh went to the Ukraine for war, appeared in the Ukraine propaganda video. Fighters from Afghanistan, Taiwan tried to get telling me that the feds didn't know him. How long until the FBI says the line that he was no law enforcement? And they should have kept tabs on him unless they were using him. So it's a lot of rabbit holes, including this guy. I forget his name.
This video is incredible. If you want to see how, Blake, I think you should let this play. I can't confirm this.
It's a few minutes at least. And
no, but it's worth it. This one was one of the wildest, most put together. I can't say if I confirm or deny or can refute any of this stuff, but it's an interesting take. This is
that's where it goes into the beginning when I was saying it's, kudos on the alt media for digging this stuff out before they bury all the evidence. So let's check this one out.
Routh, very strange guy who's lived a very strange life. And this time, the internet was wise and archived all of his socials as much as possible before the FBI took it all down. So here's some basics on what we know about him and one really interesting rabbit hole about who he might be. Right off the bat, though, it's super early. This is all speculative. Take your time, pump the brakes. We're just digging through dirty laundry. We don't know what sticks yet. But this guy is a private American citizen who traveled to Ukraine on his own dime, to help recruit civilian soldiers to fight for Ukraine and Afghan special forces. He was recruiting on his Facebook page. Here's an archive of all of his tweets that look pretty damn automated to me. They pretty much all look like this. In a past life in Hawaii, he apparently ran this company that made a single tiny home and a single Facebook page and never did anything else with it. Super weird. But I grabbed everyone that he followed on Twitter before they deleted it. He only followed 60. And right down at the bottom of that list, which I think indicates his first follow, is this girl named Sue Kim, who is ex-CIA, along with some other very interesting things. Now, again, reminder, this is just speculation, digging through Twitter dirt. Maybe this chick is just a wonderful, patriotic person that's helping America. Who knows? Possible. But her account is private, meaning why does he follow her? I've been digging around, and one of my followers said that they found her in the people that follow him back. I have not been able to confirm that for myself because they took the account down. If you've got a video of the 1.2 thousand followers that followed him, that would be great to know. He says that she was at the bottom of his followed list, meaning that she followed him right when he made the account. That would make sense, seeing as she's at the bottom of his following list of who he follows too. I mean, every asset needs a handler. And when you go through some of these other affiliations here, you get what is essentially the CIA training grounds at Johns Hopkins University. It explores the relationship between politics and the many kinds of military power, from the use of terror by small non-state groups to the threatened use of nuclear weapons. Its director is John McLaughlin, who is literally an ex-acting director of the CIA.
I don't know how much of this
no, that's fine.
He follows basically the who's who of our military industrial complex, and she's a little lowly private account. How are they following each other from the very get-go? Unless it seems to be obvious they're making that connection, and this is why it's good for the alternative media to get there before the deep state can scrub all of this stuff and all of their evidence.
And I just need to go on the record and be very against scrubbing all this stuff. The trans shooter down in Nashville with the manifesto, you need to kind of leave stuff out there because we need to figure out who's who, where their connections are, who's funding them, who's rotting their brain, and try to track this stuff down. Any thoughts on this, Bruce? Because I do want to bounce to the next topic, Blake, which is the rhetoric of the left. Thoughts on this one, Bruce?
Yeah, hey, the government, the feds, they're trustworthy. They got all the information out about the Kennedy assassination within a month or two. And then they had the wonderful Warren report. Now we come to find out through Robert Kennedy Jr. and President Trump that there's still tons of secret documents that have not been released 60 years later because of national defense concerns. You think we're ever going to get the truth out of Butler and Miami from the feds? We're not going to get anything from them. It's going to be up to you guys in the media, and it's going to be up to the citizenry, and it's going to be up to Governor DeSantis. Trust me, we're never going to get anything.
And it's also going to be up to Elon reimagining government, RFK pushing to release all of this stuff, Trump getting to the bottom of a lot of this stuff. I mean, it really is fix America.
And we've got Blumenthal. Excuse me, very update. Like I said, we've got Blumenthal. Yeah. I'm sorry. No, I was going to say, like Blake said, I don't mean to keep beating a dead horse here, but we even got a liberal Democrat working with us now, Blumenthal. So let's ride this horse while we have it, because once they shut and by the way, you know, I've gone into documents on the Kennedy assassination. They mysteriously disappear. When I went to get the death certificate for Rose Jeremy, who tried to tell the authorities that Jack Ruby's going to, she said Jack Ruby's going to kill the president in 2 days. Her death certificate mysteriously disappeared, and the lady at the Gray County Courthouse in East Texas told me I've never ever seen a death certificate disappear. So,
by the way, breaking news. I do know somebody with connections to Florida, for example, since we're talking about it, and Ohio. I can say that the death database has been hacked, and they cannot give out records or make they don't have control of their databases as of a couple of weeks ago. I've actually never announced it because I haven't had the time to research it. But the report I received is that their databases have been hacked. So when we're talking about ballots that appear and ballots that are counted, is there signature verification? Are these clean voter rolls, or are these dirty voter rolls? It's something I do need to look into. But yeah, I mean, just imagine the death rolls not being accurate, and even worse, you don't even have control of your own documents. Blake, what is this one here? Yeah, I guess we could go to this one. I was going to jump to one other one, but since we were talking about voter rolls and
I didn't know it was going to pop up that quickly, but I know get Bruce's perspective on this as well, his thoughts on this. Democrat judge blocking Ken Paxton, Attorney General of Texas, his effort to stop the county from their mailing registration forms to 210,000 unregistered voters. And so Paxton is fired back with an appeal. So Democrat District Court Judge Antonia Arteaga struck down a legal attempt by the AG to halt the Bexar County's push to mail voter registration to unregistered voters, quite a bit of them. So Paxton contended such an action was not only illegal, but a blatant effort by Democrat-led counties to sway voter turnout in their favor by bypassing standard registration processes. So, despite the clear warning, Bexar County still is pushing forward with its plans to mailing out the registration forms before the courts could even take up the matter. So there seems to be a battle going on between this judge and then, of course, the Attorney General on top, who's filed an appeal and vowed to continue fighting the brazen attempt to circumvent the election law and calling it dirty tricks. Accused them of knowingly violating the law by fast-tracking mass mailouts before the issue could be legally addressed.
Bruce, this is Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. What do you think about this?
Ken Paxton is a friend. Attorney General Paxton and Lieutenant Governor Patrick and I, and the governor, we've worked on projects together, passing the pastor protection bill. So a pastor or a priest or a rabbi or an imam could not be sued for refusing to do for instance, a wedding ceremony or a Christian baker baking a cake against their convictions. They are men of great principle. They're all three good Christian men, especially Lieutenant Governor Patrick and Ken Paxton are practicing evangelical Christians, very, very true to their faith and good, decent men, and they have done everything. By the way, keep praying for Steve Bannon. Let's not forget Steve. But Steve helped save Ken Paxton's career, because they have tried to railroad him out like they do Trump. Every time you turn around, the libs in Austin are trying to get rid of this fine man, and as far as I'm concerned, the best attorney general our state has ever had. And well, you got to understand, it's racism to request a photo ID, and it's racism not to let these illegal aliens, refusing them the right to vote in Texas. That's racist. You know, the Democrats only have 3 talking points, and they're getting so stale. Number one, abortion. Number two, racism, racism, racism. Everything's racism. And yet we have the least racist country in the history of the world. We've had a black president. Come on. And number three, more entitlements. We're going to pay for your college. We're going to buy you a new house. We're going to buy you a new cell phone. We're going to give every illegal alien $1,800, which, by the way, they're doing. But yeah, I love Ken Paxton, and he's right on this issue. And they are definitely, this judge needs to be impeached or recalled.
Yeah, we're in a nationwide crisis over this mail-in ballots, automatic registration situation. It
unsolicited, right? So if you don't go to a voting booth and vote, your vote doesn't count because you didn't vote. But now they're just they're just shoving you ballots in the mail, and there's no oversight or accountability.
But better yet, there will be oversight and accountability. They're gonna delay. Places like Pennsylvania have already said, well, by the way, you couldn't possibly expect us to get these full votes in by the end of election night. You know that already. They're already preemptively telling you what they're going to do. They're getting the list of people to figure out who showed up and voted, who's on their rolls that have not shown up. Therefore, can these ballots then be filled in to be dropped through the United States Postal Service, perhaps? Here's another box. Here's another. Are they stamped? Are they dated? Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But they need to know they have a vast stockpile of potential votes that they could turn into ballots, and the ballots get counted. Whether or not an illegal actually walks into a polling location and asks and receives a ballot and casts their ballot, there's other methods that they want to try. The fact that it is this easy to manipulate ballots into counted votes, it just illuminates a voting system that appears to be designed so that we're unable to audit it. And that's a weird spot to be in as we try to figure out how our country is going to move forward, especially when the ramifications are so dire. Blake, let's go to this one. Agree or disagree that the language by Democrats has led to this second assassination attempt?
Yeah, well, I definitely agree to an extent. Yeah, they get away with a lot, as Bruce has also pointed out. Let's see if I can get one of these up. MAGA shredding Harris's response to the second Trump shooting after old video of her joking about killing president resurfaces.
Yeah, play that one, please.
I know I've got a couple. I didn't know if there was one. Yeah, because the same clip will be in here.
Oh, okay.
So we can actually run it from Nick Sortor's Twitter feed here.
Yeah, we've almost had Nick on the program. We've almost had him on. We'll try to get him again.
Yeah, here we go.
All right. It's frozen on my side. I don't know about your side.
Oh, I see it running. Bruce, can you see it?
I do not.
I do not see it either.
Oh, okay, let's try this. I'm going to pull up
here. Okay,
here we go.
I see this.
If you had to be stuck in an elevator with either President Trump, Mike Pence, or Jeff Sessions, who would it be?
Does one of us have to come out alive?
Press always asks me, don't I wish I were debating him? No, I wish we were in high school, I could take him behind the gym. That's what I wish.
I said, no. I said, if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
That you cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about.
If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Kristen Welker, how do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
When they go low, we kick.
Please, get up in the face of some Congress people.
Yes, I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Yeah, it's a lot of that.
Good spot.
Absolutely. And then there's, of course, they got all the quotes here, the receipts, if you will. all these direct quotes from all of these other politicians that have put insightful things out that they get away with constantly. And then they wonder why people would try to shoot Trump. So
thoughts on that compilation, Bruce?
That is one of the more mild montages I've seen here in the last 24 hours. By the way, have you fellas heard or read about the New York Times this morning?
No.
Yeah. Oh man, they called this this Routh guy, whatever his name is, Routh, humanitarian, a crusader of many good causes.
Oh wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah, they love that.
They say Slava Ukraine. That's it. You know, it's like every time they try to pigeonhole Trump. Are you saying that you don't want Ukraine to win? He goes, I want them to stop dying. I want them to stop dying. Like that's my political stance. I just want the stupidity to stop. That seems fairly reasonable to me. Yeah, the Democrats and their nonstop over the top rhetoric. And let's not forget that they used that idiot word insurrection for 3.5 years. That was a mostly peaceful protest, and some people did some things. Not a single shot was fired from the Trump supporters. Not at one time did Trump encourage everybody to run down there and storm the Capitol. He said peacefully, patriotically. They lied about an insurrection for 3.5 years. That wasn't in that clip, in that montage, but I would argue that, along with Biden and Harris repeating the fine people hoax, trying to tell people, Blake, we have to drink. Every time I say the fine people hoax, Blake says we have to do a shot. But trying to say that Donald Trump was encouraging Nazis or doing a dog whistle and promoting Nazism, that's insanity. And the fact that they keep pushing these divisive lies. It's something that the Democrats must be punished for. They must be voted out of office. They must be retired. Just like one of their creepy supporters in the Kyle Rittenhouse scenario. It seemed like a lot of them had criminal backgrounds, but a lot of them had to keep 500 yards away from schools at all times because of their criminal history with children. Democrats should have to be 500 yards away from the wheels of power indefinitely, based on how they've handled themselves over the past 20 years, and their language that they've been using is right at the top of that list. Okay, we just have a couple.
Can I say one other thing, Brian? One other thing. Let's not forget the attempted assassination of Steve Scalise and many other members of Congress by a guy who shows up and says, "Where's the Republican congressman? I'm here to kill them all." And Steve almost died.
Yeah,
let's not forget that. And the press never covered it.
And let's not forget that when they investigated themselves and found that they didn't do anything wrong. Wait, are you saying that shooter was involved in the 3-letter agencies? What I'm saying is they did their investigation and said that it had no political implications. There was no political slant to it. It was just kind of random violence. It's just these people are the worst people. Get them all out of office immediately.
Amen.
Okay. Blake, rapid fire lightning round here. Agree or disagree that Americans should be criminally charged over misinformation? Americans should be criminally charged over misinformation. What say you?
That's a slippery slope because it depends, I guess, on who's saying it, maybe. But let me take a look. This is from Wicked Witch of Washington, Hillary Clinton. She has come out to make another press appearance to talk about how dangerous she thinks Donald Trump is. So just a day after Donald Trump was almost murdered by a deranged leftist lunatic for the second time in 2 months, Hillary Clinton got on, said, yes, Trump is dangerous, of course, with Rachel Maddow. So why don't we just roll this 37-second clip? You can hear it directly from her.
And I don't understand why it's so difficult for the press to have a consistent narrative about how dangerous Trump is. The late, great journalist Harry Evans, one time said that, journalists should, really try to achieve objectivity. And by that, he said, I mean, they should cover the object. Well, the object in this case is Donald Trump. His demagoguery, his danger to our country and the world, and stick with it.
Yeah, and then I've got just a quick quote here from Glenn Greenwald on a tweet. If Hillary's insanely repressive measure were implemented, people spreading disinformation could be imprisoned. The first two to share a prison cell should be her and Rachel Maddow, who drowned the country in the Steele dossier, the Alpha Bank servers, and other demented, debunked lies. So,
boy, old Hillary's looking bad these days. Thank you, lightning rod. I'll make this quick. Old Hillary's looking bad these days, and I don't support adultery, but man, every time I look at her, sometimes I don't blame Bill for his dalliances, but nonetheless, she spoke in metaphors and similes there. She didn't really say anything. They have nothing on Trump except 2 fake impeachments, the Russian dossier, the Russian hoax, all these bogus charges and bogus trials. He told everything he said at that debate was the truth. Maybe a slight exaggeration here and there. That's Donald Trump. Everything she said at the debate, Communist Kamala, was either a lie, a distortion, or an exaggeration. And they didn't call her on anything. Never fact-checked her one time.
Right. So let's play this real quick clip, because maybe the part that I was thinking of wasn't in that exact clip. So run one more quick one.
Just as Mueller indicted a lot of Russians who were engaged in direct election interference and boosting Trump back in 2016. But I also think there are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda. And whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrence, because
better deterrence. So
what would be the better deterrent to going after CNN and MSNBC for all of the lies that they've been intentionally telling? So spare me, Hill Dog, spare me. When are we going after the known propagandists who've been peddling complete falsehoods in an effort to fortify, air quote, to fortify the election and make sure that Trump didn't get his second term? Have you met misinformation? Yeah, misinformation. That is Hillary and the rest of these hacks with the lying legacy media. I mean, there needs to be, look, in the Nuremberg trials, it was determined that you couldn't say I was just doing my job. And when you're working with the media mouthpiece and you're pushing known information that is what is it, known to be incorrect, these are just psyops. These aren't even rooted in truth, and they know it. And this is all in an effort to overthrow the duly elected president of the United States. It strikes me as treasonous, but she wants to go after people that don't regurgitate the ivermectin lie or the 2020 vote tally, or only their version of truth can be accepted. And that's not how this country works. I mean, we used to have at the checkout station at the grocery store, all of the, National Enquirer. We're allowed to think, we're allowed to say whatever the heck it is that we want. But when you're a part of the team that's been pushing all of the incorrect stuff, the known incorrect stuff that you've been lying to us intentionally about, no, these are the last people you should ever let close to power again. And you really should stop listening to them altogether, I would say.
No, I hear you. All right, let's move along. Speaking of that subject, lightning round. What do we think? Let's pull up this caption here. That same line, if I can find it.
Bill Gates wants AI-based real-time censorship for vaccine misinformation.
Is that the Antichrist? Oh, that's Bill Gates.
Yeah. Sure does seem like it. So now he wants AI-based real-time censorship for vaccine misinformation. It's not only to proliferate from the use of these experimental medications, but to find new justifications to, in effect, force them onto anybody skeptical or unwilling. So he spoke on CNBC to reveal he may be a vaccine absolutist, but he's not a free speech absolutist. He also didn't sound convinced that America's Constitution and its speech protections are the right way when he brought up the need for, quote, boundaries, allowing some new rules. So,
right.
looking at the past with Gates, but I do want to also point out there's an interesting little RFK video that somebody sent me.
By the way, Blake, do we have you for 3 minutes or a couple minutes more?
I've got about eight to 10 minutes here, and I got to run.
All right, so whatever we need to do to hit these last 3 stories, you're in charge.
Yep. All right, let's listen to RFK because he will mention the name of that one Bill Gates.
In 5 years, we're going to see 415,000 low-orbit satellites. Bill Gates says his 65,000 satellites alone will be able to look at every square inch of the planet 24 hours a day.
So did you hear that? Bill Gates plans to have 65,000 satellites, eyes in the sky, his own private stuff, and probably the World Economic Forum or whoever, all of his associates watching us 24/7. So they will be trying to, they'll use that AI to censor your information.
They're putting in 5G to harvest our data and control our behavior. Digital currency that will allow them to punish us from a distance and cut off our food supply.
Of course, Bill Gates owns a ton of farmland, and of course, he's known for pushing the GMO food.
Vaccine passports.
Oh yeah, don't forget the vaccine passports. So yeah, it's interesting. Ties together with that. So yes, the New World Order, or these oligarchs, these people masquerading, these elitists, trying to think, eugenicists masquerading as philanthropists. They are anything but. They are danger to our society. They want to control everything.
All right, Blake, while you queue up the next story, Bruce, thoughts on that one?
Pretty much, Blake pretty much summed it up. I mean, RFK Jr., God bless him, has added big tech to big pharma and big food as these conspirators, this intelligentsia, and I wouldn't trust Bill Gates as far as I could throw him, and he and Fauci should both be behind bars.
Agreed. All right, Blake, next.
Okay, let's see. I guess we'll have a quick one. But Bruce, you said you used to work for ABC. They've been under fire for a while. Apparently, there may or may not be a whistleblower that's come out. There's an affidavit that's claiming that Harris cheated during the debate, received questions in advance, which probably isn't necessarily that bad because there weren't any curveballs. But if they're doing fact checks only on one and not the other candidate, then that is collusion. And it also turns out this David Muir, with his coverage of Trump, I think it's like 93% negative. I forget. I had statistics on a different article showing the amount of positive coverage on Kamala was something like 93%, and then 100% bad for Trump. And then it turns out that the other lady, she had she used to be like a sorority sister with Kamala Harris back in the day. Yeah, so it's wild.
Now they were in different schools, but
schools, but it's still the same sorority.
Yeah, you definitely aren't going to try to kneecap one of your own. That's for sure.
No. I was in a frat, and I was in a frat in college. Believe me, that those veins run deep. Not as deep as the Skull and Bones at Yale, but pretty deep. And even though they were different universities, they were still kindred spirits from that sorority. Do you want me to give my little take on this?
Sure.
Yeah, ABC. Yeah. What do you think?
My sources in the Democratic Party, good friends. In fact, I just had dinner with them. They said our 3 biggest allies against Trump are who's that comedian with the glasses, that doofus-looking guy?
Bill Maher.
No, I like Bill Maher, even though he's a liberal. No, he does stand-up. He thinks he's Johnny Carson. Every monologue is against Trump. See, I don't watch these dudes anymore.
Stephen Colbert.
Yeah. These 2 Democrats told me our 3 biggest allies that we're using against Trump are Stephen Colbert, this Mears or Weirs guy, and the former congressman from Michigan. Help me out. He said he just joined the Democratic Party. See how soon we forget. That's
No,
what a legend.
Yeah, it's hard to keep all these names in order.
Yeah, Adam Kinzer.
Kinzinger. That's from Chicago.
Kinzinger. And they're on Colbert's program all the time. These two dudes.
Where's Kinzinger from?
I thought he was from Chicago, but he was also he's from weird connections.
I thought he was from Michigan.
Yeah.
It says he's a representative from Illinois from 21 through 23, but he's Illinois.
I stand corrected, Brian. So anyway, these two Democrats told me that Adam Kinzinger, Colbert, and this so-called anchorman, so-called journalist, he's a hack, he's not a journalist. If he is, he's a yellow journalist, are the people that they're putting out front to attract more of Republicans, independents, and libertarians to their cause. This is from the horse's mouth.
All right, Blake.
It's not going to go anywhere, but they can try. That's fine. Yeah, Colbert is a joke now. He had a good gig on Comedy Central, but he really sold his soul for the big network money.
Yeah.
Speaking of people who have sold their souls and hacks, we've got the TDS suffering has-been Howard Stern says he hates Trump supporters and doesn't want them to listen to our show. So that's kind of a tough one, agree or disagree, because Trump supporters, they obviously disagree. Should they embrace? But maybe they should embrace, because they can just dominate and make on all the call-ins and drive Stern crazy, push him over the edge. But he's almost retired, so he doesn't care.
I would absolutely call and go Baba Booey, Baba Booey, Baba Booey. Just call in and go Baba MAGA, Baba MAGA, Baba MAGA. Yeah, just call in and say MAGA, 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 MAGA.
We should do that.
All right. Let's start a campaign. Yeah. He made the Baba Booey prank call famous. Let's make MAGA, MAGA, MAGA famous. All right, how about
there you go.
Final one here, Blake. This is kind of breaking news. Sean Diddy Combs. Final story.
Oops, I just popped it. I just got rid of it. Let's check it out again. Here we go. Rapper Sean Diddy Combs, he's been arrested in New York. Details of the charges are still under wraps as far as I know. His attorney, of course, said they were disappointed with the decision to pursue what we believe is an unjust prosecution. But the problem is there's a lot of things coming out that are really gross, really ugly, that he's got just a history of, drugging and sexually assaulting, looks like young women and men. It's pretty bad. He's also allegedly was beating one of his ex-girlfriends. I think that actually came out to be true, and he has apologized for it. All kinds of stuff. We don't have time to get into too much of it, but the latest one is that he's accused of holding these, quote, freak-offs with male prostitutes, according to court documents. His freak-offs were arranged by high-ranking supervisors, and they sometimes went for days, where Combs would force victims to engage in bad stuff while he pleasured himself. Yes, lots of stuff. I don't want to get into too much of this details. We'll just say, yes, there's oils and all kinds of things that could be used for other things.
All right.
Forcing people to do things and then putting them on video as embarrassing recordings, which he could use for blackmail. And then on the last day, he would order IV deliveries after these freak-offs so that the victims could recover from the days of, drug use and other things.
So he's like a Hollywood Epstein, essentially. Bruce, thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Did he formally endorse President Trump?
He did years ago. I don't know. He goes back and forth. People are trying to tie him to one candidate or the other, but he's been seen with Trump and he's been seen with Hillary. So I don't really know where he stands, but I'm assuming he's going to be on whatever the deep state is.
He had allegedly some ties and connections to the former pastor of a mega church here in Dallas, Potter's House. And that's kind of nefarious, possibly. But if he is for Trump at all, I would question the timing of this arrest.
Yeah, I think it was Kanye, but I don't know if it was Diddy. I don't know if Diddy did or not, but maybe he was. I have seen pictures. The left is trying to make it seem like, oh, they're buddy, just like Epstein. But I think the reality is going to be a little different than that, but we shall see. It's it is a breaking story. It is a big story, but no details yet on the nature of the arrest. Of course, seems like he was been on the run. I'm surprised he was in New York. I thought he went to some like island to kind of get away from everything as the walls were closing in on him, but we'll see. So we'll keep an eye on that, but thank you, gentlemen. It's been great, but I have to run, unfortunately. So yes, TV's Blake Walley, Twitter, nextlevelnews.com. All right, guys, good job. All right.
Thank you, Blake.
Oh, yeah. Blake, tell us about the show you're going to be on tonight, Blake.
Yes, Toxically Masculine Tuesday, 9:00 Eastern Standard Time with Brian again, as well as Mike Barra and the Steve Doran, the Trail Boss. So stay tuned for that. All right, everybody. See you then. Take care.
All right, there you go. He's Blake Walley. Make sure you follow him. And if you like supporting independent journalism, you can donate to Blake Walley on Cash App. $ Blake W99, Blake W99. If you want to support the New American Media, you can find me at Brian Engelman. That's BrianEngelman on Venmo at Brian Engelman, or patreon.com/the New American Media. You can sign up to be like a $5 monthly, $15 monthly, $100 monthly, or $1,000 monthly subscriber, because going to all these conventions across the Bronx and DC and Chicago and Milwaukee, those budgets come out of somewhere, and it would be great to replenish some of that. But thank you to everybody who joined into the chat rooms, leaving all of your comments. And Bruce, final word for you. Thank you for joining us again. Hopefully we don't have to do another attempted assassination special. Hopefully that we don't have to use that word anymore for the next 4+ years, so that we can get Trump through his second term safely. And I continue to offer prayers for Kamala being so unpopular. I fear for her safety that the deep state could martyr her and blame it on MAGA to try to do some sort of October surprise. But what say you about all of today, Mr.?
Well, we've really hit the gamut, and great job. And I would simply say that that's exactly what they did with JFK. It was the liberals that took him out, and they turned around and blamed it on the South and conservatives and big oil. And it was the liberal Democrats that took JFK out, man, and engineered the cover up. So you never know with these, double spies and double agents and double headers in the espionage world, especially when it comes to assassination. But we do need to pray for President Trump's safety hourly, not daily, hourly. We need to continue praying for Steve Bannon, his safety there in prison. So unjust.
Just go ahead and do that. Why don't you offer a prayer while we close today's show?
I would love to. We have a guy in Dallas, Mark Davis. He begins each show and ends each show with prayer. For a secular program, that takes courage. Let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for sparing the life of President Trump. In my humble opinion, he and JFK and Reagan are the three greatest presidents of my lifetime. And if he had not looked at that chart in my hometown area, Lord of Butler, as you well know, Lord, he would have been taken out, and this country would have had a major civil war and revolution combined. And now thank you for sparing his life again in Florida. And we pray for continued protection, for a divine protection for the president, Mr. Trump, and Lord, for J.D. Vance, our vice president, hopefully. And we even pray for the safety of the opposition that are running, Lord, because we don't believe in assassination in America. It doesn't help anybody. It's very counterproductive, to say the least. Thank you for Brian and Blake and the yeoman's job they're doing. We pray for the upcoming election. Mayorkas and the Attorney General say they're going to have extra people watching the polls as if we're the ones that cheat. And so, Lord, keep the cheating to a very minimum. And Lord, I just heard Mike Huckabee, Brian's good friend, Governor Huckabee, say what he told me personally, and Ted Cruz told me, and Bobby Jindal told me. And Lord, even the great libertarian Rand Paul told me that there are 57 million evangelical Christians in this country of all denominations and affiliations, 57 mil. But Governor Huckabee said this weekend, 40 million of them have not voted in the last 3 presidential elections. If we could just get half of those out to the polls, Lord, please energize, galvanize, and inspire Christians of all faiths, Catholics, Protestants, Baptists, Pentecostals, non-denominationalists, Mennonites, and Amish, to get to the polls, Lord, we could take this country back, keep the cheating to a minimum, and keep all of us safe. Bless Blake's program tonight with Brian, and thank you for America. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. There we go. That was great. I appreciate that. Like I said, it's always, talking to you sometimes, especially during these days, Bruce. And by the way, for the purpose of the people watching,
disclosure,
it's Uncle Bruce, but for the purpose of the show, I always try to say Bruce because it just, I don't know.
Yeah, well, let's make an agreement now, an official agreement, a pact. On the air, it's Bruce. Off the air, it's Uncle Bruce if you desire.
Yeah, and I try, but for the people, the layman, the average listener out there that doesn't know, I was gonna say it's starting to reach a point where I have the same conversation with you that I do with my dentist or my mechanic. There are regular, every 6 months you get a cleaning at the dentist, and you got to get an oil change. But outside of the regular, I don't like seeing them at all. I don't like having extra dental work done. I don't need a multi-$1,000 repair to my vehicle. It's like, I love you, but I hope I don't have to see you again anytime soon. So Bruce, I love you, but I hope we don't have to have another assassination talk anytime soon, because there is an ongoing question now, as Trump has been rumored or confirmed, depending on what you see, that he's going to be going out at the Georgia football game, #1 versus #2, Alabama versus Georgia, something like that. He's going to be going in 2 weeks to a really big football game, and it's outdoor venue, 80,000 people, and it's like you have a mole inside, you got a mouse in your house. I don't know. I appreciate not wanting terrorism to limit and change how you handle yourself. That is the American way. But, at some point, you can only test fate so many times. And he's in the crosshairs. Final thoughts on that topic, Bruce?
Very final thoughts, because I also have to go. Thank you for the honor and privilege of being on this great program. Yes, I am having a hard enough time, but I respect it, I understand it, and kind of agree with it. I'm having a hard time with him going back to Butler, Pennsylvania, my hometown area. In fact, ironically, that's where my dentist, Dr. Lawrence May, was for many years, in downtown Butler. He was on the school board. His sons and I were fraternity brothers at Phi Kappa Tau at Westminster College. He wants to go back, and his first line is going to be, as I was saying, but to go into a stadium or a coliseum or an arena where there's no way they're going to be able to filter those people going through the turnstiles and check for every little device. And plus you're putting a lot of people at risk. So I don't know right now. When he becomes president, it might be a different story. Plus he's not getting the security he needs. And, I would want to say one more thing, Brian, and that is, today, my attorney, I was going to meet him for lunch, but I told him I have to do this program. He thinks Trump's going to be shot at least 2 or 3 more times. I would say 4. So, yeah, let's hope we never have to do it. I hope I'm wrong. And I believe he's going to lose Pennsylvania, my home state. I hope I'm wrong. But all he needs to do is win. I'll close with this. We need to pray. If he wins, if he takes back Nevada, wins Nevada, takes back Georgia, takes back Virginia, and then, of course, he's got to win North Carolina. I mentioned that. North and South Carolina. South Carolina is in. All he has to do is pick off one other state. Michigan, even New Hampshire. If he takes back Nevada, Georgia, Virginia, North Carolina, wins his other red states, and takes one other state, even New Hampshire, a small state, and he's ahead in the poll. The internal polling of Kamala shows she's way behind in New Hampshire. That's why she keeps going up there. But I think he has a chance of taking Michigan. I was sitting at the table with that Wayne Walters, and I'll close with this. And he got a piece of mail. We were there on vacation, like we were for the Kennedy, the attempt on the president here. I mentioned it earlier in your broadcast, and we were sitting at the breakfast table, and he got 2 mail-in ballots. Said, basically saying vote twice. Somehow he got on the Democratic blog or a blotter roster, and they said go ahead and vote twice. So Michigan, but man, boy, the vice president did a great job today. I'm speaking predictively. J.D. Vance did such a fantastic job today in Sparta, Michigan. check it out if you have a chance later tonight, tomorrow, Brian. God bless you. God bless America. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. We'll talk to you again soon, but hopefully not about this topic anymore.
Amen.
Stay safe out there. Thank you so much. And to everyone else out there in the TNAM universe, I just want to ask you to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell on whatever it is that you are watching on right now. Rumble.com. Go to Rumble. We are the New American Media. Hit subscribe. Watch a show or two, please. YouTube.com/The New American Media. We have 13 years and almost 1,600 videos available to you. Find our podcast on Spotify, The Agree to Disagree Show. Truth Social, we are the New American Media. Facebook, we have a page called the New American Media and a whole bunch of groups, including TNAMS, TNAM''S, TNAMS, The Agree to Disagree Show. On X, the New American Media is at American_media_. We are on Instagram, the New American Media. We are on Odyssey. That's our backup to YouTube because YouTube likes to take videos down. So go ahead and subscribe to the New American Media there. Patreon.com/the New American Media. If you'd like to support our independent journalism efforts, you can also send me a little thumbs up on Venmo at Brian Engelman. So yes, please subscribe, like us in Telegram and what's the other one? Signal. TNAM official, TNAM chat. So TNAM official, TNAM chat. Find us in all of the places. All right. So on behalf of everybody out there, I want to thank you for joining. We will be with Mike Barra tonight on Toxically Masculine Tuesday. I think we're going to be broadcasting through this X feed and this YouTube feed, I think. But yeah, look forward to that chat tonight. So I will let you go for now. Continued prayers for safety to both campaigns, and we will talk to you again soon. We appreciate you.